Jared Walsh was one of 11 wounded. While he was being treated at Walter Reed Army Medical Center, doctors made another diagnosis.
I'd only heard about PTSD with Vietnam vets, and I thought that I was too young to get it. I didn't think that I would be old enough to have it.
Post-traumatic stress disorder?
Yes, yeah.
And did they tell you that's what you were showing the symptoms of?
Yeah, they said I had an extreme case of PTSD.
What are some of the symptoms?
Just irritability and impatience.
Irritability sounds like a polite way of saying you lose your temper a lot.
Yeah, I do. I don't know why, but I do. I just can't put up with anything anymore.
According to Dr. Robert Ursano, the military's leading expert on PTSD, it's more widespread than you might think.
The PTSD, in many ways, may be the common cold of psychiatry, that perhaps everyone over a lifetime has been exposed to a life-threatening event of some kind, a motor vehicle accident, a hurricane, a tornado.
But do you find people who just don't want to admit that they have PTSD?
Individuals with mental disorders frequently are frightened about talking about the problems that they have, frequently feel like they need to hide them.
Does every soldier who's been in combat get some degree of PTSD?
Everyone exposed to a life-threatening event will change in some way, and for some we may see chronic unremitting disorders.
Within days of the ambush, Walsh wrote a detailed account of what happened. But when you ask him about it now, there are things he either can't remember or doesn't like to talk about.
Your memory of this seems a little hazy. Why is that?
Spent the last 10 months in therapy trying to forget about the attack, so.
I know this is tough stuff for you, but it's important to get it straight so we don't have conflicting accounts out there, so yeah. Try to stick with it.
If Walsh's memories of that day are accurate, you can understand why he doesn't want to talk about it.
There's two little kids on a bridge. One was probably about 7, the other was 10, and they both had weapons. One of them was holding his weapon upside down, which I had never, I mean, he wasn't firing, he was holding it by the clip, the banana clip upside down, and the other kept firing off rounds at the truck. I fired over their heads, and they turned around and took off running. Later on, I seen them again, and I fired and I hit one of them. I hit the younger one.
Where'd you hit him?
I was aiming for his chest. I believe I got him in the throat. So, I wasn't trying to.
This was a boy you put at about, what, 7 years old?
Yeah. 7-year-old wasn't even firing his weapon. The one I actually got wasn't even firing.
A year after the ambush, Walsh was still in therapy at Walter Reed, and he had a new girlfriend.
Is it hard having a relationship with somebody who has PTSD?
Sometimes.
What's hard?
Just being able to figure out when it's a good day versus a bad day.
There was one very bad day last October.
He was just drunker than I'd ever seen him. I'd just never seen him that drunk. I have no idea what I said, but something I said just triggered something, and he knocked my feet out from under me, and he had me in a chokehold, and he was just on the ground just telling me, "You're going to get me in trouble, you're going to get me in trouble."
Walsh is either unwilling or unable to explain why he snapped.
I don't know. I really don't know what happened. I know we got an argument, big argument down there. I really don't know. I couldn't tell you. I can only tell you what I'd heard.
If they hadn't pulled you off her, you would have choked her to death.
I probably, most likely would have.
Psychiatrists say heavy drinking is not technically a symptom of PTSD, and neither is violence. But with PTSD, whatever problems you had before the traumatic event will be there after. The problem is, most soldiers are dealing with it on their own. Although the Army sends combat stress teams onto the battlefield to counsel soldiers, a recent study in the New England Journal of Medicine found that 1 in 6 infantrymen returning from combat in Iraq shows signs of depression, anxiety, or PTSD. And afraid to admit they are mentally ill, up to 3/4 of them are not asking for the help they need.
If you go to get psychological help, you get a check in your little book that says you had some problems. So a lot of times what happens is the guys try to deal with it themselves. and that's not a good thing.
But they're afraid of being labeled a head case.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't have any use for head cases. You know, it's the guys that have had physical injuries don't have any real respect for the guys that are just head cases.
The guys that have physical injuries think the guys that are head cases just, are sissies, can't deal with it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same thing that's been there for years and years and years, you know. There's always been that stigma.
Jared Walsh does have a physical injury, but to him, being shot in the foot doesn't seem heroic.
Getting hurt in that attack, I mean, just my foot is the only thing that stopped me from going back. That's just, I mean, it's a shame. It's something I was ashamed of. It feels like I ran away. I mean, it feels like I got hurt, and then that was my chance to get away, and that's what I did. I mean, it's not what happened, but that's what it feels like.
When you look at Jared with all his problems and consider that he almost killed Gail, you might have the same question we did.
How do you go back with a guy after something like that?
I explained, I kind of said, I don't want you drinking anymore. I do want you to get the help that you need to deal with your issues.
So you think maybe that was a turning point for him in facing his PTSD?
To some extent. He's said to me that he didn't want to lose me, so he was going to do what it would take to keep me, to make me happy. And
just a week after she told us that, there was another fight.
He came in, he was just completely upset, just angry beyond angry, and just vented.
How?
I yelled, screamed, threw things, broke things.
He'd do anything to you?
Most things were thrown at me.
How badly did he hurt you?
I have bumps and bruises in my head. I can feel them every time I brush my hair. Got some around my eye. My lip was busted up, my nose. Bruises, just sore and bruises all over.
This is one very personal story which you're sharing with us. Why are you sharing it with us? Most people would tell us to butt out.
Part of me wants to tell you guys to butt out. Don't make him look bad. He's not bad. But I guess I'm still trying to get him help.
You think there are a lot of people out there going through some of the same things that you're going through with him?
Uh-huh. Maybe not to an extreme of getting beaten up, but yeah.